Coming out of COVID, we had a lot of layoffs out of the gaming sector. Not even just the gaming, like pretty much everywhere, because everybody was being hired on like crazy during COVID. And then after that, there was just such a oversaturation of workers and all of these tech jobs and whatnot that just did not need to be there. We're doing basically nothing for all intents and purposes. And so now we're seeing basically the fallout, if you will, of all that with all of these layoffs. As we have here, Microsoft just announced another layoff of 650 more workers specifically for Xbox. And it just, I don't know why people are like so surprised by this. It's like, how many of these people do they have working there? And I still have no idea what their job even entails. I mean, everybody remembers all of those TikToks that we saw of all the day in the life of a software engineer at Facebook or whatever. And it wasn't specifically Facebook, but just them saying like what their job was. Wake up at a certain time, like go to the gym, get coffee, and then they're in the office doing whatever, and they get home early or something like that. It's like, you can't expect that to last forever. I mean, surely, well, I mean, for a lot of the people nowadays, I'm sure they do because people's critical thinking has just gone absolutely out of the window, down the drain. Nobody can think, it seems like, past like a day in the future, let alone anything they see on the internet anymore, which is kind of scary when you think of AI. But anyway, so yeah, I mean, to the people who expected this, I mean, it's not very surprising at all, just because there's just so many people who are hired on, and they're not fulfilling what their job entails, so they're getting let go. I mean, is it sad? Absolutely, but at the same time, it's like if you're doing your job well, most of the time you're not let go. Sure, there's some instances where there's politics and you get let go because that's just the way things are. But for a majority of these people, let's be real here. I mean, clearly they weren't doing anything of significance because if they were, a majority of them wouldn't have been let go. This is the article here. It says Microsoft Gaming to lay off 3% of global workforce, about 650 employees, and additional post Activision Blizzard cuts. It says Microsoft Gaming will lay off approximately 650 employees, or 3% of the Xbox owners' global workforce, in a new round of eliminations following last year's completion of its $69 billion Activision Blizzard acquisition. The cuts will primarily impact staffers in corporate and supporting functions, per Microsoft Gaming CEO Phil Spencer. For the past year, our goal has been to minimize disruption while welcoming new teams and enabling them to do their work, Spencer said in an email to staff Thursday, which was obtained by Variety. As part of aligning with our post-acquisition team structure and managing our business, we have made a decision to eliminate approximately 650 roles across Microsoft Gaming, mostly corporate and supporting functions, to organize our business for long-term success. And exactly, I mean, that's what I was saying. It's like a lot of these jobs, they just don't need the people there anymore. I mean, clearly. And that's how it is with pretty much all of these companies. Why do you think, for better or worse, Elon fired like what 80% of the people at Twitter, and for all intents and purposes it's still Twitter or X or whatever he calls it now. So it's like clearly a lot of the people that work at these companies, they're not doing a lot, because if Elon can fire that many people and still have a functioning website, makes you kind of wonder what these other companies have going on too. And that isn't even just to mention just the total shift that we've seen lately and how games are being produced and whatnot. Because this is kind of a side note, but found it funny that this woman, not in particular, but just the organization that she's with. It's just this article here on Reddit. It says activist organization that encouraged game developers to denounce gamers is now begging for 80 grand in order to remain open. Oh man, I just always find it so funny when you have these people that try to force a large majority of people to think and like certain things, and when they don't, they get upset and try to denounce. I mean, let's be real, that's what they were trying to do with that whole Sweet Baby Inc. and whatnot. Not saying that this is involved with that, but just adjacent to it, really. And now we're seeing what's happening. Like, they're just getting shut down. It's the same thing with these gaming review sites and whatnot. It's just like their integrity is just out the window. Nobody cares what they say because the reviews they give. I mean, let's just take for instance, they gave Concord a 7, a 7 out of 10. And I'm like, what about that game was a 7? Like, I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. I mean, Sony didn't even give it a 7 because they shut the game down 11 days after it came out. So, and then they gave Wukong an 8. And it's like, Concord, 25,000 copies. Wukong, it's got to be over 15 million copies at this point, maybe even more than that. 7 to 8. That's quite the jump, you would think, in just 1 point, but I don't know. Maybe I'm looking into it too much. But it's just the same thing. I mean, all of these different companies that like hired all these people during COVID, and a lot of them actually before COVID, but just it multiplied, if you will, during COVID. And now they're just being shut down because not only are we seeing them getting fired because there were just so many people there not doing anything, but now we're seeing the pushback finally, thank God, against all of these people trying to push narratives and trying to force people to like certain things in games when it's like people just want to play games that are fun. And so when you're trying to push your agenda, people don't want anything to do with it. So, I mean, to the people who are needing 80K to stay open, good riddance. I hope they don't get it. They probably will because there's a lot of dumb people out there. But yeah, I'm glad to see in that, at least that instance there, that they're not receiving funding and then so they're in threat of shutting down, so we can see new people come in and take the space that people will actually want to listen to. Because let's be real, if people wanted to listen to them, they wouldn't need to raise 80 grand. Let's just be real. And then in terms of the cutoffs for the different like large tech companies and entertainment companies, it is sad to see, of course. I mean, you don't want to see all these people lose their jobs. But you also have to look at it from the perspective of the company as well. I mean, obviously the company is just trying to make money. But also in that, it's like, well, if you were doing something to improve the company or better the company or try to make them more money, I mean, they wouldn't be as eager to let you go if you really just look at it that way. But I mean, that's obviously just my opinion. Obviously, there are some circumstances where you just get let go and it's like nothing that you did. It's just the nature of business, I suppose. I mean, I've been in that situation myself, so I understand. But at the end of the day, I mean, all in general, let's be real. If you were making any sort of impact, they wouldn't let you go. But that's just my opinion. Let me know what you guys think about the Xbox layoffs down in the comments. And as well as about the different organizations that are getting shut down too, because they just have no funding left. Whether it be game reviews or guides or what have you. A lot of these sites are being shut down, which I think is hilarious, especially the ones that were more narrative driven, narrative being that they're just trying to push their narrative onto you and force you to like it. So all in all, it's good to see, I think, all the way around. But anyway, if you guys liked the video, make sure to leave a like, and I hope to see you guys around. Peace.